Hi, Lisa here from Primal Transformations. There is a topic that I get questions about almost every day, and I wanted to cover it in a quick video format today just to kind of go over the highlights of this, and that is the topic of what to eat for breakfast on a paleo diet. So, when most people start paleo, they tend to eat a lot of eggs. They just don't know what else to eat for breakfast. And that gets old very quickly. I don't care how much you love eggs, you probably don't want to have them for breakfast every day. So it's really nice to have a variety of options. So I guess the first thing that I would say is, and this is something that I definitely had to overcome as well, is that we're all kind of conditioned to believe that there are certain food groups that we call breakfast foods. When in reality, when you think about it, and many cultures around the world are this way as well, breakfast food is just food. It's just the same kind of food that you would eat any other time of day. So that is, kind of a mental shift that takes a little bit of time to process, but it didn't take me that long because it was just easier when I realized I don't have to have a separate category of foods for breakfast. I can eat leftovers. That's fine. Here's why breakfast is so important, not just for people following a paleo diet, but for everyone. Now, please don't send me hate mail if you're doing intermittent fasting and you're skipping breakfast. I am not saying that everyone needs to eat breakfast. I understand that intermittent fasting works extremely well for a lot of people. It worked well for me for a little while until it didn't. So it's one of those things that you just kind of have to experiment with. And in my experience as a person and as a coach, it doesn't work quite as well for quite as long for women. So I don't want to get derailed on that. If you are eating breakfast, you're who I'm talking to right now. If you're looking for ideas for what to eat on paleo. So there are so many websites out there that are devoted to quick and easy paleo breakfasts with just a few ingredients. Most of us are very busy in the morning. A lot of us have kids. We don't have time to be whipping up these gourmet breakfasts in the morning. We kind of need something that's grab and go. So I really like things that we can make ahead of time. I'm a huge fan of bulk meal prep in general, and especially for breakfast. So in our family, we make a lot of breakfast casseroles, and honestly, if you Google paleo breakfast casserole, you will come up with a bazillion variations. So many of them do have eggs in them, but not all of them. So there are lots of casseroles that have sweet potatoes, that have sausage, bacon, lots of different kinds of vegetables. Again, many of them do have eggs as kind of a binder, but that's not necessarily the case. There are casserole breakfast recipes crock pot breakfast recipes that you can make the night before and turn it on so that it's ready when you get up in the morning. There are nice little breakfast muffins that you can make ahead of time that are kind of egg and sausage based typically. Those are great because you can reheat those, have a couple, your kids can have a couple. If you're running out the door, you can eat them in the car. Obviously that's not, ideal, but a lot of times that's the life that we lead. So we have to be realistic here. So other foods that I really like for breakfast, anything with a sweet potato. I don't want a whole lot of carbs for breakfast, but I do like a little bit. And that just kind of depends on your kind of blood glucose issues, your insulin resistance issues, if you have them. Personally, I need a little bit of carbs in the morning, but I'm always pairing that with at least 30 to 40 grams of protein from a variety of sources. That may be chicken, that may be beef, that may be fish. And that took me a while to get there to be eating fish for breakfast. But protein is probably the most important thing to include in your breakfast. So you really want to make sure you get that in. And then we also want to have some healthy fat in there. And that can be from avocado, from a high quality butter if you can tolerate dairy. That could be from coconut oil. MCT oil, which I absolutely love. That is a kind of a concentrated derivative of coconut oil, but it doesn't taste like coconut at all. So you can kind of drizzle it like a salad dressing over vegetables, and it's delicious, and it's got really good kind of fat burning potential. So I love MCT oil, and I use that quite a bit. But again, avocados are great, and they're wonderful recipes for baked avocado. You could put an egg inside, you could put bacon inside. Again, lots of recipes out there. I know it is kind of an odd thing to eat vegetables for breakfast, and that definitely was, a transition for me as well. But I'll tell you why it matters. What we're looking for breakfast is we're looking for a meal that is going to give us good brain energy, obviously good physical energy, but really good cognition to get us through the morning. And that's true for our kids. We want them to do well in school. We want them to, not be distracted by hunger and not to get brain fog from the standard American breakfast, which causes our blood sugar to just head off on a roller coaster that it just never gets off for the rest of the day. So breakfast is really important because it sets us up to have sustained energy, not only throughout the morning, but it helps us to make better choices throughout the day. I've experimented with this, not really on purpose, but there have been mornings that I've made maybe like a paleo pancake or something like that for a special occasion, like cassava flour or coconut flour or something like that. So a little more carby breakfast, and experimented with how I felt mid-morning and kind of how I felt throughout the day. And boy, I really felt like a different human. It was, it's worth it once in a while, but in general, I really would urge you to structure your breakfast to include a nice palm-sized portion of protein. That's going to give you 30 to 40 grams of protein. For women, a thumb-sized portion of fat. For men, that would be probably 2 thumb-sized portions. And then the rest of your plate, you really want to fill with vegetables. And that could be some spaghetti squash. It could be broccoli. It could be fermented vegetables. Really, it could be whatever you have. It could be sliced fresh tomatoes from your garden, avocado, whatever. I mean, it's really worth experimenting with. And, not to get too far off course, but one of the things that is so important, not only for a paleo diet, but for any nutrition protocol, is to view this as our own personal journey. So the way I explain it to my clients is that we are always working to figure out what foods do you truly enjoy that make you feel the best. So kind of a fun way to say that is the foods you love that love you back. So we're trying to find foods that really elevate your health. If your goal is fat loss, we want that meal to be, not high in carbohydrates necessarily, because that, not always, but having a lot of carbohydrates definitely can lead to increased hunger. So there's a lot of research around that, but that's for another video. But again, so just the basics is that I would encourage you to make sure that you've got protein, fat, and fiber from vegetables in your breakfast. If you get to mid-morning and you find that your energy is flagging, that you're headed to the break room kind of looking around, you're trying to see what's in your desk drawer, that is a clue that tomorrow you need a little more food for breakfast, because biologically, there is no reason that we shouldn't be able to get in a comfortable way from one meal to the next. And there are many health benefits. We really want to give our digestion a chance to rest between meals, and that kind of constant grazing, constantly kind of boosting our blood sugar isn't good for us for many reasons, for a lot of health parameters, and certainly not if your goal is fat loss. So we want to really give your body a chance to learn to access our own body fat stores for a little bit of energy and kind of retrain those pathways. So I wanted to mention a few websites that I really rely on when I'm going and poking around for recipes, and I will list these down in the comments so that you can access these later. Nom Nom Paleo, wonderful recipes there, and just every category you can imagine. Civilized Caveman, I love the crockpot recipes there. They're very simple and just delicious. Balanced Bites has amazing recipes, and many of them are very simple with just a few ingredients, and that's right up my alley. I really am not interested in spending an inordinate amount of time in the kitchen, and I want to make it as simple as possible. So those are probably my 3 favorite go-tos, but Paleo Leap, they also have a number of good recipes for breakfast. There are lots of other sites. Honestly, whatever you're looking for, Google it and it's going to come up. So I really don't spend a lot of time on recipes. A lot of people ask me for those, and sometimes I feel like we kind of subconsciously overcomplicate things because we're just not really sure if we want to move forward for this with a new dietary strategy. And so we'll say, oh, well, I, couldn't eat paleo for lunch because I didn't have a recipe. Well, open a can of salmon and cut an avocado and have some mixed greens, and you have a paleo lunch in like 2 minutes. So to me, like, that's kind of an obfuscation. So I don't know that a recipe is always necessary, but definitely some people love that. And I think that it's really fun if you like to cook and you have the time to do it. That's amazing. But there's every resource available for recipes under the sun. So, and I'd be happy to dig around if there's anything specifically that you're looking for, or if you have a specific food sensitivity and you're having a hard time. But I really wanted to cover that because when clients come to me, I don't want to throw all the changes at them all at once, because change is hard, especially nutrition changes. When we're changing our food, that's like changing our religion. It's really difficult. So honestly, I always start with breakfast because it just makes a huge difference with how they feel during the day. And again, it sets them up to make healthier choices throughout the day. So I would encourage you, if you're starting on a paleo diet and you just don't know where to start here. Start with breakfast. Find some foods that you enjoy. Don't just eat eggs every day. You're going to get burned out on that. That's boring, and that's not necessary at all. Once you have breakfast really dialed in and that's comfortable for you, make another change. Maybe that's when you tackle lunch. Maybe that's when you tackle snacks. But most people are not just go all in type of people. I know there's a lot of people that do Whole30s and do fantastically well on those, and that's wonderful. I think all in reset can be amazing. Having said that, I think in conjunction with that, or after you're done with that, if you're really trying to implement this as a long-term lifestyle that is customized to you and your family's needs, I think it's important to not get ahead of ourselves, because that kind of gets into that on the wagon, off the wagon kind of mentality. There is no wagon. There's no wagon. So that's, to me, that just kind of takes us off into the psychological weeds, and we really can keep this simple if we choose to. It really isn't complicated. It does not have to be. I choose not to make it complicated because I'm busy and I don't need that in my life. Like, I want nutrition to be in its own lane in my life, kind of running in the background. I have my food dialed in, and it's just, not something that I overthink in my life. And I'd love that to be the case for you as well. Reach out to me. I know this got a little wordy and long. I'm prone to that. I apologize. But I am going to do some follow-up videos, and I would really encourage you to let me know what other topics, that you need help with. They could be mindset related. They could be meal planning. They could be how to get your family on board, or your spouse, or partner. All of those things come up in my coaching all the time, and I have some thoughts on everything, probably. No, but anyway, I would be happy to help with whatever you're looking for. So let me know if this was helpful, and I'll keep doing these if they are. So thanks so much, and have a good evening.